It's been more than a year since I've had this laptop, and judging by the amount of dust collected underneath it, it's probably very dirty. Oh yeah, this is terrible. I expected to have a lot of dust inside. Maybe I'll be lucky enough and it will throttle less. This is what I'm starting with. The temperature maxes out at 87, and that's when this graphics card starts throttling. There's also that 101 degree hotspot, which is bad. As you can see from the graph, it goes from 1000 MHz to just 500. And the power consumption is between 75 and 80. And that's like 20-25 watts less than it could be. So definitely gotta do something about this. So, yeah. One thing I like to do is arrange the screws somewhere near where they like roughly resembling the same shape when they were inside, so that I won't have to think which one to put where. It works pretty good, especially when they're different. So this is the slightly nasty part. The 3 little screw covers. They don't like even add much to the looks. The nice thing about this laptop is this screw doesn't go out all the way. Rah! Oh no. So yeah, this one you can hear the sound, but it does open up the edge just here. Okay, so far this is fine. Yeah. So this is a lot of dust baked in. I saw a video recently about a laptop stand which was having a filter and its own cooler thingy. Sounds much more useful now. I'm getting a vacuum cleaner. That's much better. So just after cleaning the fans, it got much better. The laptop is now consuming around 90 watts. The temperature doesn't hit the throttle threshold, and the core is like double the speed. The hotspot is still pretty hot, around 100 degrees. So I guess repasting would be necessary. Also, I wanna kinda go and take a look at what's inside. Yeah. Okay. This was weird. I just barely touched it. And okay, this thing looks pretty flaky. and dry. You can even read the letters here. And this is the dreaded liquid metal. This thing here is one of the thermal pads and it feels completely dry. I'll be speeding up the cleanup parts. Wow. Shiny. It really does look like liquid metal. The thing looks like it's completely dry, so I'll be taking it off. And the thing with liquid metal, though it's awesome at conducting heat, it's a pain to work with and it can ruin your components if it gets onto them. So it's corrosive and yeah, you should be really careful with it. I got most of the liquid metal out of it, I think. And I took a closer look. There is this black thing around it, which is supposedly a seal which prevents any leakage to the components here around this. Also, I've done a bit of cleaning up. I'm not even sure if I need to clean it up any further from between them, but here I am, sitting with a piece of paper and trying to get everything out. A piece of paper is soft enough not to damage anything. I really hope this is worth it. It's kinda hard to stop when you start cleaning. Just feel like you want everything to be perfect. But it's hard to get them from between the components. Also, there are a lot of tiny things there, like resistors and whatever. I've got this, which should work fine. Spoiler alert, it didn't work at all. So all this cutting up was a waste of time and a waste of pads and just a very big failure and disappointment. So yeah, putting everything up, of course I checked Reddit and some people said that pads were possible, but I think they had the much thinner pads, something around like 0.5 millimeter, maybe less. So yeah. Nope. I lost. After opening it up, I guess you can see the problem. There is like 0 thermal paste on the radiator. I need to get this thing in contact. And for that I had to remove all the pads. No squishing, nothing helped, so I had to get the real thing, some real thermal grease. Looks kinda weird. Very weird. Wow. This is pretty hard. Applying this thing was pretty hard. I don't know if I got it fake or maybe old and dry, but it didn't really want to stick that well to individual components. I think it's much better to think of this thermal putty as a single a single thermal pad with variable size. So just putting it on and wiping it down, caressing it, dragging your finger around it. When I try to move just one of it, that doesn't really stay in the same place. But when it's linked up together, and especially if it grabs onto something, it holds on much better. I have pictures. Pictures help a lot. I love pictures. So this is the corner here. Yeah, the same corner. And from what I can see, this thing is like 4mm high, and the thermal pad, which was there previously, it's not that tall. Like the whole thing is 4mm, and this is like, I don't know, it's smaller than 1mm. So this might be a problem, being that even though it's thinner than the thermal pads, it's still just a bit too thick. So yeah, I've been picking up small bits, which I think won't be needed, really. As for the rest, just wiping it down like this. Having fingers you don't mind getting dirty is a good thing. So this thing is actually the least concern I have, because the part where the VRAM is, it doesn't look like it's thick. It looks pretty thin, and looking up here, I can see the metal and barely any grease. So I probably will have to pat it down really well, and then after putting the heatsink, I'll tighten it up just a bit, these 3 screws. Then I'll take it off and take a look whether the graphics card itself has made decent contact, because that was what didn't work out with the pads and might be a problem with these liquid pads as well, since they are pretty thick. Now we can only hope that this part here will make contact to the graphics chip. And not so good. It doesn't look like a square here, just a part of it connected, and I can see that this is the area that needs more attention. After a little bit of patting down, I'm putting the heatsink on just to see if it's any better. But still not perfect. I'm gonna get some alcohol and see if it changes anything. And it does kinda help a bit. At least it doesn't stick to the fingers as much. I'm putting this back and then I'll test it. So this is what the CPU core graph looks like after I've put it back on. And yeah, it stays around 1000 megahertz, but it's kinda wavy. I don't really like it. I think I'm gonna redo it. The temperature also hasn't gone down, but it feels like it might be just on the border of throttling. Okay, so I did a bit of testing and I don't really like how the graphs looked. So I decided to take off the heatsink once again. And what I noticed was half the VRAM chips, about half of them, didn't have the connection, so it wasn't spread out and it wasn't adjacent to the heatsink. Some of them were thicker than the rest. Looking at how it was applied at the factory, I noticed that the thickest part is here on this voltage thing is the MOSFETs, yeah. So the MOSFETs had probably the thickest amount of liquid thermal pad applied. They need the most height to get a good connection. Next were probably these coils right here, but they had less than half a millimeter height, probably. And this thing was the smallest of them all, so I plan just to use some MX4 on the VRAM and the same thermal paste that will go on the CPU and the GPU. The plan now is to, so this is about the same height everywhere. I plan to put the heatsink here. First of all, I'm putting a bit of a thermal paste, just, I don't know, just a dab here, here on each one of the VRAMs, and then when I will put this heatsink on, I will see whether it has any connection or not. So this will be a way to detect it. This thermal putty here should be spread out, and I will see how it's imprinted on the heatsink. And if all goes well, I'll reapply a decent amount of thermal paste to the VRAMs. I will just make this part pretty. Well, I'll level it out again. If the height is okay, if the height isn't okay, I'll make adjustments. And then I'll apply the thermal paste to the CPU and the GPU, and just close it up for good until I get something like K5 Pro or whatever. This is too thick and it needs to be much more runny to just do its job well. The tolerances on this laptop are low, and this thing isn't good at spreading out from the sides. Not as good as the factory thingy that was put there. So I'm gonna try it. Heatsink goes on. Okay, so the results are these chips, these three parts of the heatsinks. I didn't get the thermal paste spread. This one was good. This one was decent. This one, well, I'd say it also spread it out a bit. These two were good, but these three, not so much. Maybe I just didn't apply enough. Just 3 screws here, like it won't get pushed down any better than how it's pushed down now. And the result is and the result is that one of the bolts flew away. But the thermal paste is spread out much better. I think I'll go with that. I've been playing with this thing much more than I ever wanted to, and I noticed that adding isopropyl alcohol, 96%, makes it much more pliable and easy to work with, and supposedly everything just evaporates after that. And yeah, so it's much more smooth this way. Way more smooth and way easier to apply evenly and thinly, which is the most important part. Grabbing a small part of it and squishing it between my 3 fingers to form a centipede. And then I just put it down here first. I'll use something to spread it on better. This is the level of application that makes me happy. I'm just using a brush with a bit of isopropyl alcohol to spread it out, even it out, keep it slightly wet. And I got a valley here and the mountain on top of the mosfets, about the same way I had it back before I first put on the heatsink. I'll just apply some thermal paste here and here, add some more to the VRAM, and then we'll see. The truth, of course, is in the graphs, the temperature graphs, and the rest of it. But first, we'll have to close it up and start it. Just to show you how it looks before I close everything up. This is the VRAM, hope it will be enough. The graphics card, and the processor, and of course that little thingy there. So this is the result I got after my last thermal paste application, and it looks pretty good. The temperature stabilized at 74-75 degrees, which is 10 degrees less than it was before. And the hotspot is at 86 now, and previously it was around 100 degrees, which is also nice. I don't see any significant drops in power consumption or in GPU clock, so I guess I should be pretty happy with what I did. But no, before I drive in this last bolt, I just want to say that this has been a terrible experience and a learning experience as well. What should have been a simple cleaning and repaste turned into 3 days of running around and looking for liquid thermal pads, learning about the different types, failing, more failing, testing, and in the end getting a somewhat usable result. I still think that I should get something decent and redo everything. But for now it should work. And you know what? You know what actually? I think this deserves an extra sticker. This would be a Ganyu sticker, because she does a lot of work. Or so I heard. Yeah. This should be good.